Hey there, my name's Adam, and my clean and sober date is March 11th, 2016. I was born and raised in Fort Myers, Florida, and at an early age in adolescence and childhood, I experienced a lot of trauma, verbal abuse, and a multitude of different things that actually caused me to use later in life. By 14 years old, I was a three-time convicted felon in the state of Florida and served just over 1 year in different programs as well as juvenile justice. Coming up as a teen, I was more accepted by the people in the streets than necessarily the people at home. And the love that I felt from not having the love that I felt led me into my addiction. So by 14, 15 years old, I was already experimenting with multiple drugs. I just wanted to change the way that I felt. I never really felt normal or good, and substances made me feel that way. So then I got introduced to opiates by way of pill form, and that's when my life really took a turn for the worst. I just kept using. Eventually, I found the needle and spoon, and I managed to destroy my life pretty quick. My sobriety date just so happens to be my incarceration date due to a couple different charges in Lee County, Florida. And, when I was in jail, I had to experience the detox process with nothing but water. I had to experience it with nothing but a couple books to read. And it was like the best, worst thing ever, right? When I was in there, I had a bunch of friends of mine die because I was like the social butterfly. Everybody was so cool with each other. Hey, you do drugs? I do drugs too. We should probably hang out sometime, right? And like I just kept losing people. Like I was in jail and I would get the text messages through contacts or telephone contact, and it'd be like, this person died and that person died. And absolutely everybody was dying. So I did about 69 days incarcerated and was released. And then I just continued on my journey. It's been incredibly tough. It's been enlightening. It's been aggravating, agitating. There's like so many good and bad adjectives that I can add to this one. But it's actually been a really good haul. I'm approaching 5 years and I'm no better than nobody. Nobody's perfect. Nobody knows it all, right? But I consistently just try to work on my recovery. And then I also try to inspire others that are working on their recovery as well.
Wow. Wow, good. Okay, so how you said that you were introduced to, what was it, opiates, you said?
Yeah, Roxy's to be specifically. Yep.
Okay.
About 10 years ago. Yep.
So how did that kind of go? You did it just
Oh,
somebody offered it to you, or?
yeah, that's actually a really good story. I'm glad you asked that one. So let's see, I'll be 37 in August. So quite a while ago, cocaine was the latest and greatest thing. It was just what everybody was doing, right? So I actually got introduced to it as a way to come down off of the cocaine. But yeah, actually one of my buddies actually handed me a couple. He was my go-to. He was the connect. He was the plug. And he's like, here, you ever heard of these? And I'm like, no, what are those? And like, he's like, well, here, I'm gonna give you just a couple, right? And I want you, when you're done with the cocaine, I want you to crush this up and I want you to call me in the morning. And I called him the next morning and I was like, what was that? Because in my head, because I was so far into my choice of addiction, disease of addiction, that like it was like the new latest and greatest. It was like an upgraded version of drugs for me. Like I went from looking out the windows with all the lights off, peeping through the blinds, to like completely relaxed, eating cereal, and like then it just kept going from there. Once I got one, it turned into a couple, and then it was weekend. Then I went through the functioning addict stage, the full-blown addict stage, and I remember, let's see, my daughter's going to be 11. I remember just over 11 years ago, her mother's uncle, my baby mama uncle, was a sheriff's officer in Fort Myers, Florida. And I was still in the functioning addict, didn't have to have it all the time, just really liked it. And he told me, he's like, Adam, if you don't put them pills down, you're going to be shooting heroin in just a couple of years. And I'm like, what? There's no way. You're crazy. I don't even like needles, right? And then just I reflected, the pills dried up in Florida, the price skyrocketed, and then just how I got introduced to the pharmaceuticals, I got introduced to the street level opiates as well, heroin, and then eventually it just led to the needle.
Wow. Okay, so how would you say that your addiction affected your family?
Oh man, it tore it apart. My mom's actually still out there. I never really got to meet my mom. She left me at a Salvation Army in Lakeland, Florida when I was 2. My father's still out there. He's tried to get right 1,000,001 times, and it's hard for me to watch that on that tip. And then on the other tip for me, she's like, you got to get off the drugs. You got to get off the drugs. When the baby's born, get off the drugs. And of course, I didn't listen. I wasn't ready. I didn't hit my rock bottom. What was rock bottom? I'm having the most fun I've ever had in my life. So I thought at that point in time in the game. And so yeah, long story shorter, I actually ended up surrendering my rights, my parental rights in the court of law to my 11-year-old. I didn't even show up to court. I was so far out, so far gone, so far in them streets that I was like 3 addresses behind or ahead on paper. They didn't even know how to get to me. So in the court of law, I actually, without being present, relinquished my rights to my 11-year-old daughter, which I haven't seen since she was about 2 years old. So to answer your question directly, it destroyed everything. It was like a tornado, and it just shredded absolutely everything. And it left me in deep, dark thinking, that place that's sometimes easy to get to and sometimes challenging to get out of. And it was rough. It basically destroyed and shredded and took away absolutely everything that I had on a family level.
Wow. I'm really sorry about that.
I wouldn't be where I'm at if it didn't, I mean, I'm a firm believer that we will grow through what we go through, and some of us are just more stubborn or thick-headed. And it could be worse. My brother Robbie actually passed away from fentanyl overdose the day before my 3-year. And I'll never forget it. The clock sprung forward. I got a phone call from my non-biological mama, because she's like my mama. And the clocks had just sprung forward, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I get a text message. I hear it. I roll over and I look at my phone, and it's like, Robbie's dead. And literally, I had the audacity to ask my non-biological mom, Robbie who, right? Because the first step's denial. I don't got a problem. I don't need a rehab. Robbie who, mom? And she's like, Robbie, your brother. So he actually injected a bad batch, well, not bad batch, but a saturated batch of fentanyl, and died right where he stood. Just real quick, this is a picture of me.
Oh, wow.
What I used to look like. These are a couple pictures of me back when I thought I was the man with the master plan, out there, the coolest guy ever. It's funny, because I actually looked at these dates, and the date on this picture reflects February 27th, 2016. So this was exactly 13 days prior to my incarceration, exactly 13 days prior to my clean and sober date.
Wow. So what does recovery look like to you these days?
Oh man, recovery looks amazing. Of course I still struggle with trauma and certain things if I allow that stuff to get in, but recovery is really good. I met my wife to be because of recovery. We're actually looking at an October 10th of this year date to get married. I was able to fix my teeth. I was able to do a lot of different things. I went about 10 years with no car, no driver's license, bumming rides, calling everybody on the phone. Hey, can you come get me so we can go here and there? So recovery to me nowadays, it's incredible. I don't have the dealer beating on my door saying, where's my money? Because I fronted you a bunch of stuff and you're hightailing it. I don't have just all the bad stuff that flocks with that, all the bad stuff that just is a contingency in recovery. So, I mean, I fixed my credit score. I was able to move up to Athens, Georgia. I relocated from Southwest Florida, bought a personal vehicle. People trust me in their homes. Most of my family's trustworthy now, you know, and it took a long time because I was out there for a very long time. And it's just been blessing after blessing. Now, is every day perfect? Huh, not even close, right? But it's how we utilize those days to make things good. For me, it's like a management system that I put into place, you know, because it don't matter if you got 5 seconds, 5 days, 50 years, right? Recovery can be a challenge. You know, we all suffer from something typically outside of addiction, and that's what led us to our choices. So like just a couple days ago, you know, I was dealing with turmoil. I was dealing with stinking thinking, like all up in my feelings, like I was having a pity party all over again. And, you know, it took a lot. It took a lot of, you know, talking to accountability partners, talking to my wife to be, reaching out to some of the normal people down in Florida. And it was good. You know, of course, it's not going to be perfect every day, but boy, do the good days outweigh the bad ones now.
Okay. So did you, when you first got sober, did you end up working a program? I know you said you got sober in jail, right?
Yeah, Lee County Jail in Florida.
Did they have you going to meetings and stuff like that?
So in jail, nothing's mandatory,
Yeah.
right? But I just wanted to get out of where I was. I wanted to do something a little different. And I was hurting real bad because I was using Mexican tar. Come to find out, they put a bunch of like junk in it, right? So the side effects are pretty strenuous. So inside jail, I actually did attend quite a few different meetings. You know, I attended religious service. I attended, it's really only 12-step down there, AA, NA, CA. And, you know, it was like
CA.
Cocaine Anonymous.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Hey, you ever heard of HA?
I want to check out all the other meetings. Unfortunately, I've only gone to AA, and the first NA meeting that I was going to go to, it was closed.
What? Because of the mask thing?
I have no clue. I showed up there and I'm like waiting around thinking that somebody was going to show up and nobody did. I was real disappointed because in my opinion, I kind of wanted to. I've only gone to AA meetings and I know that a lot of people say that they're different from NA. So I wanted to check out and see what the difference was. I wanted to see if they have a different book. I wanted to get the perspective of an addict rather than an alcoholic, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So in Georgia, where I'm at now, they're like, hey, have you ever been to an HA meeting? And I'm like, HA? What's HA? And it's actually Heroin Anonymous.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it existed. They don't talk like that where I used to come from. So definitely try to get you to an NA meeting for sure. You know, any type of recovery meeting, any type of gathering, I'm not necessarily for anyone specific, whether it be inside or out of the steps. It's just everybody's entitled to work their own program, and you got to just work it, right? I believe one of their sayings in 12-step is it only works if you work it, and that holds a lot of validity. That's a very valid statement.
Yeah.
You know, so I jumped off. I checked out all of it. You know, all the A's except for HA, of course. You know, and I did SMART. I did a lot of YouTube too. Like I didn't have that car, so when I got out of jail and I'm sitting on the front porch, I walked back into the room that I was staying in, the spare bedroom of my buddy's house, with all my dirty clothes. I liquidated every asset. I had absolutely nothing but blood-stained clothes and shoes that were in real bad shape. So I just plowed the meetings. You know, I tried to do the 90 and 90, but with no car, no driver's license, I probably did about 60. But inside, I definitely did a bunch of meetings. I did every single thing I could on the inside to work on it, because like, it was so bad, the detox process. You know, the mat that I was laying on actually had been sprayed with mace prior to my arrival, because in Lee County Jail, they don't ask a lot of questions. They just say it's called spray and tase, right? So the gentleman that had the mat previously to me apparently got spray and tased. So I'm withdrawn from heroin primarily. I sprinkled crack cocaine in there quite a bit, but prior to my arrest, it was mostly tar heroin. So I'm doing the withdrawal process from opiates. I'm hallucinating. I'm doing all the stuff, right? And then I'm laying down at night when it's time to go to bed, lights out, and there's oil-based mace on my mat. So my face is irritated, my ears are itching. It was a nightmare. It's like you know, I look back and I can laugh on it now, right? But in present moment, it was like the biggest cage rattling of my life, which is actually something that I needed, because I tried detox. I tried detox centers. I went to so many different, stay for 5 days, we'll give you this, or we won't give you this, and then you just leave, but you don't work a program of recovery at all. You don't take it seriously. You don't find a higher power if you're into that. Like, I would just go and I would think, okay, I got right for 4 days and now everything's better. And then the real life would just get to me. So I definitely relapsed. I can't even tell you how many times. I remember my records though. I had 32 days, 33 days, and 44 days. And now March 11th, I'll actually have 5 years.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So
Thank you so
a couple
much.
things I want to touch on. You said that you jumped into YouTube. Did you look up recovery videos? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so, you know, when I got out of jail, I was released May 19th, 2016. You know, and I just I researched a bunch of like recovery motivation in general, you know, and I would listen to some of the greats speak. And I don't know, I probably got 10 or 12 tops for me. Everybody's different. And they were talking about like a life with no worries, a life with no issues. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, my whole life's been worries. My whole life's been issues. And like the things they were talking about, I wanted it, right? But it didn't make no sense. Just like when I walked into my first AA meeting and they're reading all this stuff and I'm like, you know what I mean? None of it made no sense to me. So I just stayed on YouTube. I watched thousands of hours of YouTube because the number one thing that I had once I got out of jail was time. You know, I spent 14 hours a day if I had to in the acquisition of $20. Then I would use the narcotics, whether it be an up or a down, and then I would just sit there like mission achieved. You know what I mean? Like a $20 bag of heroin and an 85-cent Black and Mild. And it's like, yes, I had the best day ever back then. So I would just consume myself with YouTube content. Some real famous people, you know, Tyrese Gibson from the Fast and Furious movie. He has some really good stuff. His older stuff is really good. Eric Thomas, C.t the Hip Hop Preacher. I could go on and on. David Goggins, etc. And like the way these guys were talking, the way, and even a female, Mel Robbins, you know, the way that they were talking, like I wanted that life and I was willing to do anything it took. So basically all I had was a jump rope and some YouTube videos outside of my meetings in the evening time. And I just stuck with it. I cut off everybody. I call it hermit crab status. You know, I just went into not necessarily hiding because everybody still knew where I was at, but like I cut my people, places, things like incredibly low. Like I went almost by myself, other than, you know, the meetings and the camaraderie of the fellowship, etc. Just because I wanted to succeed, you know, and people were still rapping on my door. I remember a buddy of mine, been a friend of mine 20 years. He's like, hey man, I heard you're out of jail. Got a bunch of morphine. You want some? And I'm like, and I'm sitting to myself, I'm like, dang, bro, if you was really my homeboy, like you said you was, you might just maybe have some respect for me. But looking back now, we partied together for like 10 years. His house was a shooting gallery where people can inject dope at. And he was just still in the functioning stage, like how I thought every day was normal, getting high on drugs. He just thought he was being normal. He thought he was being a friend.
So your YouTube channel, you share
Yes.
recovery on there?
I share a bunch of recovery, basically trials, tribulations, testimonies. I'm in the process of sprinkling in interviews just like ours. But where I come from down south, Southwest Florida, it wasn't really too normal or acceptable. You know, up here in Athens, Georgia, like everybody wants to tell their story loud because they firmly believe that, you know, once we actually tell our story, we have a possibility of breaking the stigma around addiction.
Yeah, amen. So what's the name of your channel?
My YouTube channel is IFI Motivation. I jumped off January 1st, 2019, so I'm about 25 months into it. And believe it or not, I got like 275 videos. And a good chunk of them's just me. You know, my story. I talk about anything you can think of. I implement comedy. I went to a yard sale. I picked up 50 wigs for $50, and I use them. And I use them. If my hair used to look like this, why can't I rock a couple wigs in order to get recovery taken. You know, I got like a Duck Dynasty one, right? And it's got the American flag and the poofy hair, and I'm like, woo, recovery, recovery.
That's
I go crazy with it. I got a George Washington wig. I got wigs for days. You know, you
So
can
how
also
many
check me.
subscribers do you have?
I think 730.
Wow, good for you, man. I
Yeah,
only have like
yeah.
250.
Hey, you got to just keep trucking. You know, I've watched a couple people, even my wife. My wife has jumped off just 6 months ago, and she's doing phenomenal. I think she just busted 450. And I've got a couple other people that jumped off like August of last year. They got 3,000 and 4,000. You know,
Good. I'm
it's
gonna have to connect with the people that you have. I like connecting with the YouTubers that have the same content as me. It's nice.
yeah, yeah, for sure. You know, but you got to remember one thing, Shay. Just like recovery, right? This isn't a race.
Oh, I know that for sure. It's been a
It's a
long time,
marathon.
and every one subscriber is like a trophy for me.
Yeah, because one subscriber potentially could save one life, right? So
Amen.
if this video saves one life, if your channel saves one life, if IFI motivation saves one life, job well done.
Yeah. So what do you consider your higher power? What does that look like to you?
You know, that's a really good question. So I studied a bunch of different higher powers, and you know, up until about a year ago or so, you know, my higher power is God, Jesus specifically, you know. And I always had a problem with my higher power. I was mad at my higher power. I didn't understand why my higher power did me like that, you know. And so through the help of my wife Jamie Tall and a couple other people that really love and care about me, you know, I'm really working on Christianity and you know, praying with Jesus and to Jesus. And it's been good, but it's been rocky, you know, because you know, with all good must come a little bad to balance it out. Life is typically balanced, right? And I'm just pursuing God like I was pursuing my recovery in the beginning. You know, you just got to pray every day. You got to be thankful and grateful and hopeful and possess characteristics and attributes that allow you to be a better version of yourself. You know, because for so long I would wake up at the alarm clock. I'd be mad, right? I'd be mad at my alarm clock because he did me wrong, she did me wrong, this, that, drama, gossip, a bunch of stuff that doesn't pertain to recovery or success. So now I just bow my head and I pray, and it's been working really good, you know. And no path is perfect, you know. I'm not perfect, and I'm just striving for progress over perfection.
Amen. What are some of the things that you pray for?
Oh man, I pray for others a lot. You know, I pray for my enemies and my foes a lot. You know, I pray for patience, which some people are like, you should never pray for that because that's like, you're really gonna get it. And I understand what people say when they mean that. Like, I'm like, just like when the AAs read how it works, like, you're like, what does that even mean, right? So the first time I heard pray for patience, I'm like, really? And then boom, I got a lesson in patience. So, you know, I spend a lot of time in gratitude. I pray for the well-being of others. I pray, you know, I got a big heart for the homeless population, you know, because I was knocking on that door. I was really close. I've actually got a video on my YouTube channel called "What Colors Your Tent," and it exposes a little bit of the homeless drug addict situation. I've also got a couple videos. It's called "Homeless and Out of Hope" series. Um, you know, because a lot of those people suffer with mental illness and addiction. So I just pray, you know, for everybody and everything. Sometimes people think I'm crazy. I'll be in the grocery store and I'll just pray out loud. I'll be like, Lord, let this cashier be able to get through this line quicker because I just really need to get out of here. And I know I don't have any patience. And then people are laughing at me and stuff, you know, but people used to laugh at me when I was a junkie. So what's the difference?
Yeah.
You know, so I pray for a multitude of things. You know, I'm excessively open-minded, and you know, I include a lot of others in my prayers because I firmly believe a lot of others have included me in theirs, because I probably wouldn't be where I'm at and as blessed as I am without it.
Amen. So I'm going to go on a side story because God has been yelling at me for days now, and he just did again. So I'm going to show you how God works in my life real quick.
I would love to hear it.
So basically, I had a dream about a week ago or so, right?
Okay.
And I looked at my finger, and there was like this little white head, okay? And
Uh-huh.
I was really confused, so I went to go pull it out, and lo and behold, guess what it was? Oh my gosh, it was a maggot.
I've seen your video. I seen that. I seen that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna explain it on here so everybody else can hear this too,
Cool.
because it drives me absolutely nuts. So yeah, I did that, and then all of a sudden there was like 2 other holes, and they were maggots as well. It's like, and then the next thing I know, it's all the way up my arm, and I'm seeping maggots out of my pores. Like, it freaked me out so bad. I'm telling my roommate about it, and so then I ended up trying to go to a church, but that didn't end up happening, and that was kind of a God shot because the church that I wanted to go to was not the one that I was supposed to go to, right? Like God works in mysterious ways. When he shuts one door, he's opening another one, and I firmly believe that. And so he shut that door, and I decided that I was going to do an online church, and I was leaving the pet store, and the first online church thing I see is called Beta Blessings. So I laughed, right? And I'm like, oh, beta, that's funny, like beta fish. So I clicked on that one, and not even like 5 minutes into the sermon, it's talking about maggots, right? And so I'm freaking out because I'm like, okay, clearly this message is for me, right? And he's talking about it's like a purge and a cleanse and whatnot. And basically, I can't remember the whole sermon, but it totally blew my mind. And basically, I started school, and the topics were homelessness, right? And then you just touched on homelessness. I'm telling you right now, I firmly believe that God's telling me that that's a direction that I need to go right now, is talking about homelessness. And like, just even without addiction, that happens to people very often. So I think I just share that real quick, because it's blowing my mind left and right that I keep hearing this, and God's like, this is the one.
Yeah, no, and same thing with me. I just felt compelled, you know. For so long I was doing just videos. I would come up with an idea and I would run it, right? And then, like, in East Fort Myers, Florida, primarily the 33905 zip code, we had a severe influx of homeless population. Like, it went from, you might see a couple, and then like this one dude was out there, his name was Michael. And I just felt really compelled to stop and talk to Michael, you know what I mean? Because he was out there spinning a sign for like forever, and he's got, you know, he's got skin issues and just a bunch of different stuff. So I went and I got him a bunch of stuff that would benefit him. And then I asked him if he wanted to tell the story of what happened. And lo and behold, this dude's like 25 years old. He's been out in them streets since he was 17. He's been homeless for 7 years. And like, I just sat with him and we talked, and you know, I left feeling good because I was able to help, but I left a little sad, you know, because my heart like melts for situations like that, because I was so close to being him, man. Like, as a juvenile, I was a runaway for a little while, and I actually preferred to sleep in the bushes or on the side of the building or something versus going home sometimes, you know. So I got a really big heart for the homeless. And then, like, that's one thing I pray for a lot, because I know you're way up north. I'm in Athens, Georgia. We're in North Georgia, and it's cold here. I've never seen 20 degrees in my life. I'm a Florida boy, you know what I mean? So like, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh my gosh, bro, like, imagine being outside right now, man, and you're already down and out. You're already in your feelings because you know, you are what's going on, and then it's 22 degrees and the wind's blowing. Like, I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, I could see where the suicide rate within the homeless population would massively increase based off of demographic, logistics, outdoor temperature, a bunch of variables.
Yeah,
So like, that's
going to be another topic that I'm going to be talking about as well. So do you have a sponsor at all?
I'm gonna be real with you. I don't. Can I tell you that story?
Go right ahead.
All right.
Can I actually? I'm gonna hit pause real quick.
Go right ahead. Let's do it.
Go ahead.
So in the beginning, you know, I was a firm believer in, you know, the 12 steps was the only way. And, you know, I gained a couple different sponsors, a couple different accountability partners. And like, I just got shook when it came to the whole I'm your sponsor thing, right? So the first one told me I was dreaming too big, told me that I should set my goal here and not here, because if I don't hit my mark, I'm going to relapse. And then I go and I hit my mark, and I go back and I share it. And that same dude that told me I wouldn't get there, or I would relapse in lieu of not hitting it, was like, I told you you could do it. Remember, Adam? I told you that you could do it. And then the other ones, I just couldn't find one that like vibed with me. I want to dream so big it scares people. I want to pursue the biggest and most outlandish goals ever. Not that I am going to hit everything, but like I went after drugs wholeheartedly. So why can't I go after my dreams wholeheartedly? So, you know, it was, and I totally agree. Get a sponsor. If you need a sponsor and you and that sponsor are vibing, it's working for you, they're helping you work the steps, you're putting on gains and growth, they're giving you rides, whatever the case may be, I'm totally for that, right? But my experience was just a little bit different. It was, you're not going to get it. Oh, you got it. Do you remember I told you so? Or, you know, it was hard for me to take advice from somebody that didn't want to put on extreme gains. I wanted to make a 6-figure income. I wanted to drive a BMW. Not that tangibility makes anything any better, right? But as I achieved certain things, it was just, I just never really found one I vibed with. So I call them more of accountability partners instead of sponsors, because one saying, anybody that knows me personally, that just gets me aggravated and agitated is, Adam, you're doing it wrong. You know, and
I was told that for so long.
Who are you to tell me that, dude? Like, I get it. You're here to help, and you might have a year and 10 days, and I got 10 days, and I get it because you got to a year, and I'm supposed to pick up on certain things to help me get. But Adam, you're doing it wrong. Like, I have like the biggest problem in the world with that, because who is anybody to tell anybody what they're doing right or wrong? Like, it's your own path. You have to experience your own path. You have to enjoy the struggles. You have to enjoy the ups and downs. Like, the struggle and recovery reminds you where you don't want to be. You know what I mean? Just a couple days ago, like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm coming up on 5 years. Day before yesterday, man, I was in my feelings. I was like deep, dark place that's easy to get to and hard to get out of, you know? And I just had to push through it. I had to open up to an accountability partner. You know, my boss man's super duper cool up here in Georgia. They're also, you know, God-fearing people. And yeah, so the sponsorship for me, the Adam, go get a sponsor. After I heard, Adam, you're doing it wrong, like the third or fourth dude, I was like, I'm done, you know? And it's not that I walked away from the 12-step program. It's just I was very limited. There was only 4 or 5 specific meetings in my area. And it was just like the same stories, the same song and dance. It was like the redundancy. Like, I'm trying to get better. I'm not trying to be bitter. And there were so many people walking in there bitter. Like, the world's this bad, and let me tell everybody why. Let's talk about the good things. Let's talk about how we can progress and not decay in our recovery. So I'm totally for it. Sponsorship's an amazing thing if you're into that kind of thing. And I mean, I'm serious. I don't want to sound weird when I say this, but like, YouTube was my saving grace. You know,
Mine
it's
too.
it's like what inspired me. You know what I'm saying? And I had to listen to some people that were like yelling at you, like David Goggins, like he was like the toughest man in the Marine Corps and all this other stuff. You know, because I come from the streets. I come from, you know, hair done this way. So, you know, I had to hear a little bit more of that, like hype, like that like that motivation to become a better version of myself. And I just stuck with it. I visited a meeting a year ago or so, you know, and I just walked in, and it was a reiteration of my thoughts previously. You know, I firmly believe the program's awesome and it's going to help a lot of people. It's clearly the oldest program, but I also firmly believe it's not the only way to recover.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and that's exactly why I started my YouTube channel, because I personally have ADHD, so that's really a struggle for me to like stick to one thing. I kind of have to dip my toe in everything, and
Exactly. And see
for me,
what
I tried the AA. I had 8 different sponsors, and half of it was
8?
because, yeah, and they didn't last very long either. I fired them probably after like a week, but and it had nothing to do with them, really. It was 2 things. Either I just didn't click on the level that I really wanted to, or I wasn't ready to make a full-time commitment to just one thing. So for me, I stepped into like mental health facilities, and a
Yes.
big thing for me was church. And,
Yes.
you know, with the 12-step program, it's basically leading you back to God, right? So I
I
stayed
would concur.
sober for a very long time based off of nothing but church and books. I read everything, cognitive behavioral therapy, DBT,
Yes.
like,
Breathing technique, meditation.
yes,
Yes.
meditation's a good one. I did that. I
Yes.
do a lot of that, and just finding any sort of outlet that is like a positive reinforcement, you know, the YouTube and all the inspirational videos. It doesn't even have to be recovery, but
At all. Correct.
yeah, I feel like me and you are going to vibe on that, because I totally
Yes.
100% agree. Not that I don't believe in the program, like you said, I
Not at
totally and
all.
100% believe in the program. However, I don't believe in that you can pick your own God, but that will just, you know.
We'll leave that for a later video.
Yeah, so but I believe there's so many avenues to recovery that that's why I started my YouTube channel, because one, I want to get, you know, the awareness out there. It
Me
helps
too.
other people to, with their stories, like you doing. This is therapy right now, you know, for
It
both
really
of us.
is.
For me to hear your
Definitely.
story, for you to share your story, you know, it's great. And I want to let people know that, like, there are so many options, especially with books and stuff. Like, a lot of people don't have the courage to just walk up to somebody or admit things, or, you know, it's just very scary thought for us addicts and alcoholics to have to open up to other people. So sometimes it's as simple as opening up a book to retrain your brain, you know?
Right. A lot of shame attached to that. You know, like for me, like how you said, like walking in my first meeting and hearing this and that, you know, I was ashamed, right? Because I was still new in recovery. I just got released from jail. I didn't even have a clean pair of clothes to wear. The glue was unglued on the front of my shoes. In Florida, we call them bobos. They're going clack 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 clack, you know. And I just didn't have my stuff together, right? And you know, I was full of shame. I was full of guilt. I was full of stuff. I mean, I only had 60 days in recovery and had only worked programs in jail, you know. So I'm just really glad that we were able to get together and reach out to one another. I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing. I'm doing what I'm doing, you know, and as long as we just keep going, you know, the ultimate goal is just to create awareness, right? Because not everybody's going to vibe the same way. It's like some people like this, some people like that. Who am I to determine? But when I'm in that circle up and I'm saying, well, you know, is there anything outside of this? And they're like, we don't
Yeah.
talk about stuff like that here, Adam. So I'm like, okay, so if homeboy's a little bit different or homegirl's a little bit different and they're searching for anything outside of this, we don't talk about that here, right? And that's one big thing that was just probably my largest turnoff. And that's why I just jumped off and I did what I did, you know. I've had a bunch of people telling me I'm crazy. I also have the hashtag this dude crazy. So if you type hashtag this dude crazy in any social media shy of Twitter, Google, Facebook, YouTube, etc., you will see very quickly what I'm about.
Amen. I truly believe that it was a God shot that me and you are talking right now, because I posted that and not even 5 minutes later you're like, let's do it. And I was like, whoa. And then
Hey,
you're
I'm
like,
down
I
my
have a
four flat
YouTube
tires.
channel, and I'm like, whoa, even more.
For sure, for sure. And I'm always down to help. You know what I mean? Like, you know, off camera, off video, if you got any questions regarding the YouTube, and I don't know it all. I'll be the first person to admit I don't know it all, but I can go out of my way to tell you what I learned to do wrong so that maybe
Amen.
it can help accelerate others. Just like in my recovery testimonies, I talk about it all. I don't hide nothing. I don't believe in anonymity, right? The louder we tell our story, the louder somebody that needs it the most could hear it.
That was another thing. I'm glad you said that, because in the program they talk about anonymous this and anonymous that, and I'm like, you guys are absolutely nuts, man. How are you supposed to get people to get into the program if you just have to keep everything a secret and this and that? I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm sorry, I'm breaking all the rules right now. I'm about to shout it from the rooftop, so it's happening.
Yeah, so I've actually got 2 different videos on my YouTube channel at IFI Motivation. I've got reasons why people leave 12-step program. It was about a week after I bought my wig collection, and I just had a bunch of fun with it. And then I've got just a whole bunch of different videos, both supporting and questioning and a bunch of different stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, the whole anonymity thing, and then, you know, I just don't, man, I get it, right? 100 years ago when everything was not to be talked about. You know, I come from an Italian family and they don't talk about nothing. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, shh, the family name. And it's like, I get it, right? But like, how are we going to save somebody? Like, I barely saved my own tail. So I'm making it a mission. It's, you know, the only time I heard God speak, he told me 2 words, you know, and I'm just trying to put it into use, you know. You know, he said God's plan, right? So this is my plan. This is my premise that I'm running with, you know. I'm very successful. I'm actually in the HVAC industry. I'm an indoor air quality specialist regarding particulate and microbial. It's not about the money, right? I got sober, got my credit right, cut all my bills. Life is good. Life is seriously good. But like, this is my passion. Like, I've been at this since 6:30 this morning, right? And when I hang up with you, girl, I got so much energy just by collaborating with you. I'm fixing to mash the gas on a bunch of marketing when I get done.
I want, after we get off this call, I'm gonna, like, you're gonna have to give me a bunch of information that I ask you. So, cause
Sure.
you need to put it all in the description, baby.
Yes. Yes. For sure. I got no problem helping you out and hooking you up. That's what this is all about. You pay it forward. You know, you show love to people, not because you got to, but because you want to.
Yep. And let's make it very clear. Like, I've never met you. You've never met me. This was purely God.
Without a doubt. And then my homegirl that actually on the group, my homegirl that talked to you, you know, we've been friends for like a year and a half or something. I jumped off on Facebook May of 2019, and you know, her involvement, like, she's just like us. You know, in Florida we say we're down like 4 flat tires, right? To go and help. We're out there to just help. And like, I seen it and I'm like, oh, she's got a YouTube. And I love the channel name. Hey, you need to put that on a shirt, and I need a XX immediately. V-neck with her.
Hey, I'm actually gonna be doing some merch here soon. I just started putting that out there, so I'm working on it.
Yes, I got a couple ideas. Yeah, I got a couple ideas outside of this we can talk after too.
Awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so happy to meet you. Like, honestly, it was a pleasure. You seem like a qualifier like me. I love it.
Yeah, it was an honor. It was an honor and a privilege, you know, and to keep it 100 with you right now, this is the first Zoom interview that I've done since I jumped off regarding this.
Awesome.
I've had so many offers. I've had so many get on my podcasts, this and that, and this and the others. I've done 1 Facebook Live and 1 Zoom, and you're the Zoom.
Wow. Well, I feel honored. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, for sure.
Honestly.
Yes, I appreciate what you're doing.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. But again, we're going to talk right after this because me and you got some business.
Yeah. Do you mind if I just spit the rest of my my social handles?
Yeah.
IFI Motivation on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. Instagram, you can follow me at #ThisIFI. And I'm sure I'm forgetting 1 or 2, but we'll save that for a different video. And I'm really glad you're here.
I'm going to put everything in the description below.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Adam. It was so great to meet you and hear your story.
Likewise, I look forward to collaborating in the future.
All right. Thank you, guys.